Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Janavallabha Girivardhari. Jai Gopi Janavallabha Girivardhari. Yashodanandana Brajajanarandana. Yashodanandana Brajajanarandana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parajaka Ashtotar Dadashi Srimad Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON BBT Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parajaka Ashtotar Dadashi Srimad Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai. Ananda Kokti Vaishnavin Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Srimad Bhagavad Gita Ki Jai. Samaveda Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Okay. On this 17th day of January 2023 in San Diego, we're reading from Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. And we are in chapter 10 entitled The Opulence of the Absolute, text 27 on page 447. Uchai Shavasam Ashvanam Vidhimam Amitodbhavam Airavatam Gajendranam Naranam Chanaradipam Uchai Shavasam Ashvanam Vidhimam Amitodbhavam Airavatam Gajendranam Naranam Chanaradipam Uchai Shavasam Ashvanam Vidhimam Amitodbhavam Airavatam Gajendranam Naranam Chanaradipam Uchai Shavasam Ashvanam Vidhimam Amitodbhavam Airavatam Gajendranam Naranam Chanaradipam. Davin, you want to try? Uchai Shavasam Ashvanam Vidhimam Amitodbhavam Airavatam Gajendranam Naranam Chanaradipam. Uchai Shavasam Ashvanam Vidhimam Amitodbhavam Airavatam Gajendranam Naranam Chanaradipam. Go ahead, boss. Uchai Shavasam Ashvanam Vidhimam Amitodbhavam Airavatam Gajendranam Naranam Chanaradipam. Ushan. Uchai Shavasam Ashvanam Vidhimam Amitodbhavam Airavatam Gajendranam Naranam Chanaradipam. Uchai Shavasam Ashvanam Vidhimam Amitodbhavam Airavatam Gajendranam Naranam Chanaradipam. Just one note on pronunciation. When you see a double letter, like that double D in Vidhi, that we tend to lapse into an English thing like happy, you know, double P doesn't slow things down at all. But that means that it should not be Vidhi, but Vidhi. Yeah, the first syllable is heavy. It's a quarter note. It's not an eighth note. Vidhi. So watch for those because it's a common mistake. Huh? It's a difficult verse to pronounce. yeah, it's a little difficult, this one. Okay, Uchai Shavasam, Uchai Shava. Ashvanam among horses. Vidhi, no, mam, me. Amrita Udbhavam, produced from the churning of the ocean. Airavatam, Airavata, Gaja Indranam, of lordly elephants. Naranam, among human beings, Cha, and Nara Adipam, the king. Translation. Krishna says, of horses know me to be Uchai Shava, produced during the churning of the ocean for nectar. Of lordly elephants I am Airavata, and among men I am the monarch. Purport. The devotee demigods and the demons, asuras, once took part in churning the sea. From this churning, nectar and poison were produced. Lord Shiva drank the poison. From the nectar were produced many entities, of which there was a horse named Uchai Shava. Another animal produced from the nectar was an elephant named Airavata. Because these two animals were produced from nectar, they have special significance and they are representatives of Krishna. Amongst the human beings, the king is the representative of Krishna because Krishna is the maintainer of the universe, and the kings, who are appointed on account of their godly qualifications, are maintainers of their kingdoms. Kings like Maharaj Yudhishthir, Maharaj Parikshit, and Lord Rama were all highly righteous kings who always thought of the citizens' welfare. In Vedic literature, the king is considered to be the representative of God. In this age, however, with the corruption of the principles of religion, monarchy decayed and is now finally abolished. It is to be understood that in the past, however, people were more happy under righteous kings. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshu Unmuditam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. So I can't resist, since we were talking about the editing and you brought up the Macmillan Gita, which you have now at home, right? Yeah. Yes. So in that Macmillan Gita, if you look up this verse, 27, you'll see that the devotee demigods and the demigod and the demons, asuras, once took part in a sea journey. What does it say here? In churning the sea. You see that? Yeah. So the point is that first Gita was produced, this chapter and most of the chapters, because of Prabhupada dictated it, which sped things up, but then you relied on a transcriber to be able to hear and understand what Prabhupada said. So he didn't know any of this philosophy or anything. So here's this devotee. It wasn't even a devotee. He was a student who was in the summer months of 1966. 66. Was getting extra credit for participating in one of the new religions. So he picked us. He came to the door, knocked on the door, told us his mission, and no one knew how to type properly. None of the devotees. Said, "Can you type?" I said, "Yeah, I can type very well." "Can you transcribe?" "Yes, I've used it." Did Krishna sent this? What was his name? Neil the typist. He wasn't Bhakta Neil. Neil the typist. He wasn't interested in the philosophy. So this is what he heard for churning the sea. Prabhupada's accent, a sea journey, and that's it. You'll read that in your book. And there's so much more egregious mistakes in there. Believe me, omissions and all kinds of things. So it's not as it is. Believe me, as this version of it.
You've given me some good ammunition.
Oh, I have a whole thing. We produced a whole little booklet in 97. How long ago was that? It's like 26 years ago. In which we went through various details and explained it, and I can give it to you in PDF if you like it. Oh yeah, there's many things.
About sober persons and whatnot.
Yeah, they're out there. So there's a little story behind this. Ukshaishava, as mentioned here, he was produced from the churning, and so was Airavata. Airavata also appeared. And that's the elephant that Indra rides on. He's got 4 tusks, and the most prominent place in the Bhagavatam is in the battle of Indra and Vritrasura, the 6th canto, which we're going to be coming up soon, gradually. And Vritrasura was a demon, but he wasn't actually a demon. He was a devotee in the body of a demon. It's a long story. Chitraketu was a king who had many thousands of queens, but he couldn't have a son. He didn't have a son, so he was very depressed. And then he got a benediction. I forget, I think Narada Muni or someone came. He gave some blessed milk to his first wife, and she got pregnant, and she had a son. And so he was overjoyed, And naturally, he was then pretty much ignoring all the other queens. And so they became envious and very mad, and they poisoned the little baby. So there's a scene of him lamenting that, and he's banging his head against the walls, and it was just horrible. So Narada Muni comes again. I may be mixing up some of the details, but anyway, Narada Muni definitely came and brought the child back to life. And the child was saying, "Well, whose son? I've had so many fathers and so many mothers in previous lives, and I was destined to leave this." In other words, he was preaching to everybody, and the Chitraketu was enlightened by this, and he became detached from the whole thing. So then he was instructed in a mantra, which he chanted for 7 days, which is very short. Dhruva was really, really quick with 6 months. He chanted his mantra, Om Namo Bhagavate Vā, and then he got darshan of Vishnu. But this Chitraketu chanted for 7 days, and he saw Sankarshan, became fully, God realized him. And then he started traveling around the universe in one of the airplanes they have. And he saw Shiva and Parvati. And Parvati was on Shiva's lap, and they were surrounded. Did you read the story? And they were surrounded by all these sages who were worshiping Shiva. And he made some comment that this is not suitable, that Shiva and Parvati are like consorting together, man and wife, in the middle of this exalted conclave of sages. So Shiva didn't mind. He's very tolerant. But Parvati was very upset about it, and she cursed him to become a demon, which he accepted. He didn't argue about it or try to get out of it or anything. It's well, okay. So then he was born as Vritrasura. And Vritrasura was a demon who was huge. The name means like he who can cover the whole universe, Vritra, And he got into a battle with Indra. I think he was trying to take over the heavenly planets. I forget all the details now. But Vritrasura was a demon on the outside, but actually he was Chitraketu. Hare Krishna. Natalie. So give me the page number, show the way. So anyway, then there's a famous battle, and Vritrasura, I'll never forget this one. He throws his thunderbolt, his famous thunderbolt at Vritrasura, and he intercepts it just like a toothpick. He's huge, this Vritrasura, and he throws it aside. And then there's a scene where Airavata tries to butt him, and he's knocked back. He's got he's a huge elephant, very powerful, and so Vritrasura seems to be invincible. So Indra kind of retreated. Then he went to all the demigods prayed to the Lord to please help them, and he comes and he said, "Well, go to the Dichi, and you ask him for his bones, ask him for his body, and from his bones, he's a great yogi. You'll be able to create this invincible thunderbolt that Indra, that'll help Indra fight the demon." So they did that, and the Dichi, I think, was first toying with him, said, give you my body, But actually he said, no problem, it's kind of gruesome, So they did that, and so Indra then became very, powerful, and he was able to defeat Vritrasura. And there's a scene where he's lying on the battlefield, and I think his arms and legs are cut off, he's bleeding, but he's just praying to the Lord. He's thankful, In other words, he wants to leave that body and go back to God because it's Chitraketu. And Indra realizes, who is this anyway? Did I really win this battle? So he finally decapitates Vritrasura, but these prayers, which I won't get into now, are really, really nice. Maybe if you tomorrow I can read them. And so Chitraketu goes back to Godhead, but Indra's got all. Now he's killed a. I'm sorry, I skipped something. What happened was that the demigods lost their kingly planet because Indra, he insulted his spiritual master. I think Brihaspati came into the assembly, and Indra was enjoying all the dancing girls. He's sitting on the throne and everything. And Brihaspati comes in, and Indra doesn't get off the throne to offer him obeisances. And so Brihaspati turns on his heel and goes out. And Indra says, what have I done? I've insulted my spiritual master. But he can't find him. He's gone. He's disappeared. And so by insulting the spiritual master, all the demigods, they lost their strength. And so the demons, led by Dhritarashtra, could then take over the heavenly planets. So that's a big thing. So now Indra, so they lost. So they needed a spiritual master. So they asked Twashta to instruct his son Vishwarup to be their spiritual master. And so he did. And Vishwarup had 3 heads. I mean, it happens. And so Indra The problem was that he had some loyalty to the demons, as well. So he's offering these mantras, and every so often he'd offer some, something. And Indra, he's standing behind a pillar, and he's watching this Vishwarup. And he became enraged that he was offering some prayers to the demons. So he comes and he cut off his head. This is Indra. Indra loses it, and then we're sitting in New Govardhan because of the Govardhan Leela, which is exactly that. So Tvashta becomes furious. Here he is. He assigned his son to be the spiritual master, and so he has a sacrifice in which he wants to invoke a demon who will kill Indra. But he chants one syllable wrong. This is the importance of pronunciation correctly. Backwards, instead of getting a demon who will kill Indra, he gets he invokes a devotee in the body of a demon whom Indra will kill, and he send back the Godhead. Because of the grammar, So now Indra, he suddenly realized, oh my God, I killed one Brahmin in Vishwarup, and now this Vritrasura is like the son of Tvashta. He's also another Brahmin who I've killed, so I've got all these sinful reactions. And sure enough, after he kills Vritrasura, sinful reaction personified comes after him in the form of this tubercular woman. And he's running, he can't get away from her. So he goes and he hides in a lake. It's almost like one of these movies, from the 50s, TV. And he's breathing through a straw. Staying awake, staying there for like 1,000 years, So this is Indra's. So there's a lot of instruction there, how don't insult your guru. It all started out because he disrespected Brahaspati. Anyway, I thought I'd tell you that. When I first read that, in conjunction with the whole drama of Chitraketu, I said, this is an incredible movie, the whole back and forth and, like that. So that's where Airavata comes in. He has a role to play in there as Indra's ride.
Good lesson.
Yeah. There was a lot in the sixth canto. And then Naranam Naradipam. Now, this is an important point. In working in the first canto, you soon see Prabhupada explains that the kings are often called Naradeva, godly men. Nara is human being and Devas. Why? Because they're meant to be the representative of God on earth. But when the royalty becomes corrupted, the Kshatriyas become corrupted, and they become, demons get control. So they're anything but Naradev. But the proper king, such as mentioned here, Yudhishthir, Parikshit, and some of the others, Shabdev, they have and of course Ram, they have the welfare of the people as the prime concern. And that's why, this incredible pastime of Ram, he goes and he fights with Ravana, he kills Ravana and rescues Sita, and they're reunited again and they come back to Ayodhya. And then the rest of it, people don't like to hear so much. So Ram wanted to know, what are the citizens thinking about me? So he went into disguise and he walked around in the city. You know this part, And he heard some of ordinary people were saying, just see Ram, here's Sita, she was in the hands of another man for so long, and now he's accepted back, so he's compromised. So he said, I can't have that now, so he exiled Sita.
Yeah, she had to give the Agni Pariksha to prove that she's...
to go through, yeah. But even with all of that, still, he still, and she... Lava and Kusha were born, and she... So that's like, wow, that's amazing that, so that the king would be without any, taint. So, and also Krishna, when the Syamantaka jewel pastime happened, this Satrajit was spreading rumors that Krishna had taken the jewel. This is a sacred jewel that's given by the sun god, very brilliant. You can produce 70, 80 pounds of gold a day with this jewel. So anyway, it's a long story how the jewel was held by the Satrajit, and he loaned it to his brother, I think it was, who then went out hunting, and a lion came and killed him and took the jewel. And then the king of the bears, who's not a bear himself, Jambavan, It's a long story, because he has a daughter who Krishna marries. Okay, going to be a bear. Anyway, he killed the lion, took the jewels, so his son can play with it. This jewel that can produce 80 pounds of gold a day. So Satyajit, he accused Krishna. He didn't know that his brother had been killed. He said, "Oh, Krishna must have stolen it." So in order to clear his name, he went out, investigated, and finally found out what had happened. He fought with Jambavan, who happened to be a great devotee of Ram in the previous yugas. And but it was very powerful. But after like a whole month's worth of fighting, he realized that he couldn't defeat Krishna. He must be my Ram, So he gave Krishna the jewel, and he gave him his daughter also. This is Jambavati, one of his main queens. So that's another instance of the king. Krishna is in the role of the king there, of being very concerned what people are thinking, and so his name is pristine like that. So the king is meant to be the representative of the Lord, and that's why even in the Middle Ages, or when it was the divine right of kings, but unfortunately they weren't really representing the Lord. And so Prabhupada said it's practically a defunct now, but there are still a few kings around. Some of them just titular kings. All right, going on, text 28. Ayudhanam aham vajram dhananam asmikamaduk pajanas chasmi kandarpa sarpanam asmi vasuki. Of weapons, I am the thunderbolt. Among cows, I am the surabhi. Of causes for procreation, I am Kandarpa, the god of love. And of serpents, I am Vasuki. Purport. The thunderbolt, indeed a mighty weapon, represents Krishna's power. In Krishna Loka, in the spiritual sky, there are cows which can be milked at any time, and they give as much milk as one likes. Of course, such cows do not exist in this material world, but there is a mention of them in Krishna Loka. The Lord keeps many such cows, which are called surabhi. It is stated that the Lord is engaged in herding the surabhi cows. Kandarpa is the sex desire for presenting good sons. Therefore, Kandarpa is the representative of Krishna. Sometimes sex is engaged in only for sense gratification. Such sex does not represent Krishna. But sex for the generation of good children is called Kandarpa and represents Krishna. So that naturally recalls the verse from the 7th chapter, Dharma varudhe bhuteshu kamosmi bharatarshava. Krishna there is also saying different things that he is, so that we can think of him easily. Much shorter list. And one of them is, I am sex life, which is not contrary to religious principles. And that means there's within marriage, for the purpose of having a son who will be a Vaishnava, be raised as a Vaishnava, then that's Krishna approves of that. That's fine. And another thing, what I was going to mention here? Oh yeah, there's a very nice verse by Rupa Goswami where he has a play of words on this word surabhi. Yak parirakshata surabhi laksha tadabisa surabhi mardana daksha mulali vadana kudali shari sadasutu kushalum tabavanamali. So he is he who is yak parirakshata surabhi laksha. He takes care of thousands and thousands of surabhi cows, as we find here from the Brahma Samhita. Chintamani pakata sadmasa kalpa vriksha lakshavatesa surabhir abhipaliyantam. Brahma is meditating and he's seeing what's going on in the spiritual world. That all the land is made of Chintamani, which is probably called a touchstone, which means that it's... What's interesting about Chintamani is that the holy name is said to be Chintamani also. Nama Chintamani Krishnas. Is that it transforms what it touches. It's traditionally the philosopher's stone, that you touch it to something and it turns to gold. So the holy name, you touch your consciousness to it, and your consciousness becomes transformed into pure Krishna consciousness. So it's very powerful. So this I
think snakes used to protect that. Is that correct?
Snakes used to protect it?
Yeah, a particular Chintamani.
I can't say for sure that no snake ever protected any Chintamani, so it may very well have happened, but I am not aware of what pastime that is. Yes, Natalie.
So like if
Yeah, give her a mic. Even though that we're not, even though there's no amplification, but it's going over.
if a Naradev like gets compromised by like a demon, how you were saying, is there like second chances, or can this transform him back to being good?
Well, it wasn't Narada.
Or what you said,
Indra.
the god form of men.
Naradev.
Naradev.
Yeah, that's not Narada. There's two different things.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Naradev was a word that was used for any king who was very religious. They're called Rajarshis. Get the thing on the altar. All right. The kings are meant to be representatives of God, mm-hmm. and do His will in this world. So we had this Rajarshi, combination of two words, Raja and Rishi. Rishi means a wise soul, a devotee, and Raja means king. So you combine them together, Rajarshi. Mm. So that's why you have Yudhishthir and Dhruva and so many Parikshit, who were very learned. But they still deferred to the Brahmins, who are really, that's their calling card, is that they're steeped in the Vedic literatures and they follow so many rules and regulations. And the Kshatriyas are meant to follow the instruction of the Brahmins, the advice of the Brahmins. But they themselves are also very learned and aware of right and wrong, So that's the way the ideal society is, this whole varnashram system where you have the Brahmins at the top, whose wealth, Prabhupada says, is renunciation. In other words, Prabhupada would give the example of it. Who is it? Chanakya Pandit. He's a Pandit, means he's very wise. And he would advise the king. This was in more modern times, I think, in the Middle Ages or something. But he was respected, And then one time the king didn't take his advice, so he says, okay, I quit. In other words, he wasn't beholden because he's getting so much money and so forth. He was doing it as a principle. Mm-hmm. And so because he's renounced and can live very simply without any difficulty, he could give up the job when he wasn't being respected. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, today you have, the intellectual class, they get bought out. They're all, bribed. Even you have a whole, so many doctors. During the 50s and 60s, the tobacco industry, they would pay doctors who were real doctors to say, well, it's not actually so certain whether smoking would cause cancer. There's still a lot of study. In other words, they were corrupt, and they were getting paid off. So this is the corruption of the intellectual class. The Brahminical class is primarily devotees. They have devotional qualities, very clean, very austere, and very learned, and very moral. So that's the difference. So, but in the modern age, the Kali Yuga means the age of corruption, mm-hmm. where things are lost, and every class becomes corrupt, and including the Brahminical class, unfortunately. And then when the Brahminical class goes, everything gets corrupted, including the leadership class, the Kshatriya class. So that's what we're going on. Prabhupada started this movement in order, as sometimes he said, to create some genuine Brahmins, even from the Westerners, who they thought, well, this is impossible, But actually, he was able to do it by the power of bhakti, by the power of the holy name, can purify. So that's it's very important. The ethical rules that are part of Krishna consciousness, like the four regular principles you may have heard of. This is like a basis of purifying your consciousness and getting closer to Krishna. Krishna recognizes the purity, and even though it gets a little, esoteric and confusing, because Krishna's Leela, sometimes seems to be breaking moral rules, but it's not. Prabhupada would give the example. If you read the 15th chapter, right at the beginning, there's this analogy of the banyan tree. It's upside down, where the roots are upward and the branches are down. Yeah. And Prabhupada would say, well, where do we find such a thing in this material world? Well, there is such a thing. Go to a nice, calm pond on the other side of which there's some trees growing, and if the light is just right, you see the reflection, and it's all upside down. right? So this world is a reflection of the spiritual world. And Prabhupada famously called it a perverted reflection. That means that the lowest here is the highest there. And the lowest here is adulterous affairs, really, between men and women. Is that this is very sinful, and it causes what, if you don't have any saving grace and you associate with the devotee, then it's we just read in the 5th canto. Do you have? You can get online to read the Bhagavad Gita if you don't have a set. 5th canto, the end of the 5th canto. Read that chapter. You're sure to become a devotee. You know why? I'm not going to get into detail, but that's a very important part of Krishna consciousness. Is this purity, this morality that's not sufficient, obviously, of going back to Godhead, but it's a basis of practicing serious bhakti. All right, let's go on.
I have one quick question.
Go ahead, Prabhu.
Why do you call Surabi Kamaduk here?
Kamaduk. Kamaduk means that you can get fulfill your desires there. They fulfill so you can have as much milk as you want. I mean, I've never heard of him giving other things, but I didn't get to explain that verse, this wonderful verse by Rupa Goswami. So he said, Yak Parirakshata Surabhi Laksha. So he's known for protecting thousands of cows. That's no mystery. Parirakshit, being very careful to protect them all. Surabhi Laksha. And then it says, Tadapi, but Tadapi is a Surabhi Mardana Laksha. Mardana means to destroy. But he's also expert at destroying Surabhi. What is this? It's a play on words. Surabhi can also mean the fear of the demigods or the fear of the devotees. Bhi or bhaya. So he destroys the fear of the devotees. Surabhi. I think this may be the first time that word has been divided that way and explained that way. So although he protects thousands and millions of Surabhis, he also destroys Surabhi in the sense of our fear. So, all right, let's go on. Text 29. Anantas chasmi naganham varuno yadasamaham pitrinam aryama chasmi yamaksang yamatamaham. Of the many hooded nagas, I am Ananta, and I am the aquatics, and among the aquatics, I am the demigod Varuna. Of departed ancestors, I am Aryama, and among the dispensers of law, I am Yama, the Lord of Death. Purport. Among the many hooded naga serpents, Ananta is the greatest, as is the demigod Varuna among the aquatics. They both represent Krishna. There is also a planet of Pitas, ancestors, presided over by Aryama, who represents Krishna. There are many living entities who give punishment to the miscreants, and among them Yama is the chief. Again, consult the end of the 5th canto. Yama is situated in a planet near this earthly planet. After death, those who are very sinful are taken there, and Yama arranges different kinds of punishments for them. So we've just been reading in the 6th canto about Ajamil, who was saved from going to Yama. He has his dutas. Dutas means representatives or messengers, who, if you're very sinful at the time of death, you're lying on the bed, and suddenly these horrible figures in your come into your room. Only you can see them, and they're very fierce, with big teeth and angry eyes, and they've come to pull your soul out of your body and take you to Yamaraj for judgment for all the sins you had. So this story in the 6th canto, it's very encouraging actually, because this Ajamil, although he was born as a Brahmin and he was raised as a Brahmin, and he got entangled with a prostitute, and all his life he left his chaste and saintly wife, and he ignored his aging parents, and he just was a rascal and committed all kinds of sins. But someone told me there was some sage who came to instructed him to name his youngest son, who was like 5 years old, and he was 80, so he was having children, Narayan, which is not a strange thing. He had worshipped Narayan as a boy, so he said, okay, So he named his boy Narayan. So he was, even though he was calling his son, Narayan, come here and sit on my lap. Narayan, come on, take your food now. Narayan, it's time to take rest, And so he was chanting Narayan, Narayan, Narayan. It's the holy name of Krishna. And then at the final moment, when the Yamadutas are coming to grab him, he calls out, Narayan! Narayan. He's a young boy, he sees him playing. And just instantly, the Vishnu Dutas come, the representatives of Vishnu, and they stop the Yamadutas from doing their thing. And Yamaduta, what are you talking about? And they recount his sinful activities. He's a perfect candidate. And the Vishnu says, no, you don't understand. By chanting this one name, he's become completely pure. So the Yamadutas didn't know what was going on. They went back to Yamaraj, can you explain it? Because they had been sent there by Yamaraj. And then he glorifies the holy name, and it's all about the glories of the holy name. So that's Yamaraj. And then this idea, the Nagas are a species of serpents. There's a whole planet of them. And among them all is Ananta. Now Ananta is also like holding up all the planets, right? All the universes. He's got all these many, many hoods. And his expansion of Krishna, of Balaram actually. And so he's, naturally Krishna identifies him. He's the lead of all the Nagas, many hooded serpents. And Varuna, he's the god of water. All of the elements have their gods. There's Bhumi for the earth, and Varuna for the water, and Surya for the sun, and Vayu for the air, like that. So he's very powerful. Now here's another editing thing. Among the many hooded serpents and hunters of the great, they both represent Krishna. There is also a planet of Pitas. Now another word for Pitas is Pitris, ancestors. So our old friend Neil the typist heard Pitris and he thought, oh, planet of the trees. So when Antonella comes back, we'll tell her she'll find a planet of the trees in that book also. That had to be changed. Can anyone argue that that's good? Okay. All right. Next verse. Prahlādas chasmi daityanam kala kalayatamaham mriganam cha mrigendroham vainateyas pakshinam. Among the Daitya demons, I am the devoted Prahlāda. Among subduers, I am time. Among beasts, I am the lion. And among birds, I am Garuda. Report. Diti and Aditi are two sisters. The sons of Aditi are called Adityas. Remember we had those before, Adityas. And the sons of Diti are called Daityas. All the Adityas are devotees of the Lord, and all the Daityas are atheistic. Although Prahlāda was born in the family of the Daityas, he was a great devotee from his childhood. Because of his devotional service and godly nature, he is considered to be a representative of Krishna. There are many subduing principles, but time wears down all things in the material universe, and so represents Krishna. Of the many animals, the lion is the most powerful and ferocious, and of the million varieties of birds, Garuda, the bearer of Lord Vishnu, is the greatest. Among subduers I have time. So this is one place. There's another place where Krishna says time. Kalos miloka chaykrit pravido in the next chapter. I am the time. I have come to destroy all worlds. So this time factor is very important. Now the Daitya demons. So Prahlāda is a Daitya, descendant of Diti, but he's not a demon, right? He may belong to the Daityas. Among the Daityas, I am the devoted Prahlāda. Among the subduers of time. So I'm going to suggest a little bit of edit there. So Prahlāda, of course, he was born in the family of demons. He's the son of Hiranyakashipu, the biggest, first demon in the universe. But the pastime is that Hiranyakashipu, after Hiranyaksha was killed, Hiranyakashipu regarded Vishnu as his arch enemy, and he wanted to become immortal. So he went off, I forget the name of the place he went, but some secluded place to perform severe austerities, standing with his hands in the air. And he stood so long that a whole anthill grew up over him and ate all his flesh. But he was so powerful, he was keeping himself alive by circulating his prana within his bones. Right? And this went on, and then he started, because of his, this tapasya makes it very strong. This wasn't divine, this was demonic tapasya. He wanted to become immortal and even more powerful than he was. So
Whom he was worshipping?
I'm sorry?
Whom he was worshipping?
I'm not sure. Shiva, maybe. Yeah. So he's standing, and he started to emit the very great effulgence that was burning the whole universe, and the demigods were feeling the heat. So they went to Brahma and asked him to do something, to go down and stop him. So Brahma comes down on his swan carrier, and he sees this, anthill with very great effulgence and everything. He says, oh, that must be where Hiranyakashipu is. And so he sprinkles the anthill with water from his kamandalu, a water pot that he carries, which is very sacred and powerful. And so out comes Hiranyakashipu with a young, powerful body, like strong as stone, very powerful. And he offers obeisance to Brahma. And it's interesting, you study that part of the Bhagavatam, and he keeps talking about him as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, because he wants to get a benediction, and that he only wants one thing, immortality. But Brahma's not immortal, so how can you give immortality? I can't give you that. So this is a famous passage where he asks all of these other questions. Okay, you don't give me a man. Well, let me not be killed during the day or the night, So, okay, you got it. Not be killed by any weapon. No problem, you got it, And not be killed inside or outside, So, okay, no problem. So and no weapon. So he goes on all these different benedictions which Brahma gives him. And finally, you think, well, okay, I got immortality through the back door, right? Who can kill me now? So that then, and while that's happening, Prahlāda is in the womb of Hiranyakashipu's wife, Kayadu, I think her name is, and the demigods arrested her. And they weren't going to hurt her personally, but they would wait till she gives birth to Prahlāda. They were going to kill Prahlāda because they figured he's another demon. But Narada Muni comes. He always comes just at the right time. And he said, no, he's a great devotee. You won't be able to hurt him. He knows. Let me have her, and I'll keep her in my ashram until Hiranyakashipu comes back. So he took her to his ashram, and he's instructing her in devotional service. So her mind is so disturbed because she's waiting for Hiranyakashipu that it didn't really stick with her. But Prahlāda in the womb heard it, and he came out. He was a great devotee, the greatest devotee. And so then it describes, he's growing up in Hiranyakashipu's palace, and there's a school, Shanda and Amarka, teaching the boys, they may be nice little demons. So then Hiranyakashipu asks his boy, they didn't have report cards then, but he wants to know, what did you learn today? What's the best thing you learned? So famously, Prahlāda says, he doesn't call him father, he calls him Asurya Varya, the best of the demons. Prabhupada always quoted this verse. Tat saramanye asura varya dehinam sadasa mudvignadiyama sadgrahat hitvatmapatam griyamanda kupam vanam gatoyad haramashrayeta. And those last words struck Hiranyakashipu like a whip. He said, take shelter of Hari. Hari is my arch enemy. So the whole verse means this, and this is like the archetype of speaking truth to power, where you're not afraid and you challenge the tyrant, So anyway, what it says is tat sadhaman. Sadhu in this case, it doesn't mean a devotee, great devotee, but it means the best thing, the best. It can mean that. The best thing I learned, best of the demons. He doesn't call him father, Asurya. Best for whom? Best for the embodied soul, dehinam, who are sadasambudvigna, always disturbed. Why? Because asadgrahat, we're holding on for dear life to the impermanent, beginning with this body, our bank account, our position, whatever it is. It's all impermanent, and we're taking shelter of it. And so when it's threatened, which it always must be eventually, it causes great anxiety. So that's sada samudvignadiyam, the intelligence is always disturbed. So what's the solution? Hit vatmapatam. Grihamanda Kupam. Give up the blind well of materialistic family life, which impedes your spiritual progress and keeps you in ignorance. Then what should I do if I give it up? Vanam Gato, go to the forest, and it's understood by the commentators, it means go to Vrindavan forest. And Haramashriya, take shelter of Hari. So Hiranyakashipu was shocked. Where did he learn this? So he looks with a sidelong glance at the teachers. And he said, we didn't tell him. We didn't teach him that. We don't know where he learned it. So no problem. He's a young boy. We'll be able to set him straight. You know. So periodically he keeps asking the questions. One time, so what's the best of the thing? Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, Bharat. 9 process of devotional service. So finally he tries to kill him himself. I'm running out of time. And he says, first of all, he gives him over to his henchmen, execute him, his own son, very cruel. They can't hurt him. They throw him off a mountain, they put him under an elephant to get crushed, they poison him, they try to cut him. He's invincible. He's just completely absorbed in Krishna, and he's protected. So finally Hiranyakashipu says, all right, I'll do it myself. And he says, you always speak of some god or something who's everywhere. Is he in this pillar? Yes, Father, he's everywhere. He's in the pillar also. Bang! He hits the pillar with his fist, and out comes Nrsimhadev. Oh God, who's this? And there was this little battle, and finally he was torn apart. He wasn't killed by a weapon, killed by the nails on the threshold, not inside or outside, not in the air, not in the water, not by any creature born, of Brahma, some half man, half lion. So all the qualifications, all the benedictions were kept, and when finally it's all over, Nrsimhadev says to Brahma, "Don't offer the demons any more benedictions, because it causes so much trouble." All right, we kind of used up all the time. So we'll convene tomorrow, and I didn't get to speak too much. Yeah, I did about Prahlāda and some others. We'll begin with text 31. Okay.
And with ecstatic kirtan tomorrow.
Yes,
Yeah.
full on.
Finally.
Yes,
I think it's been like 4 weeks.
I think so. But he'll be gone for months.
He's traveling to
13 countries
Oh my
to speak. Yeah. Is it Fiji the first? Oh, I didn't know that.
He's going to be distributing books all over?
No, he's going to be preaching. Yeah, and speaking to the devotees about book distribution, which he used to do before the pandemic all the time. He kind of got hung up over here. Yeah, beginning with Australia, where you got to get vaccinated and you have to have medical insurance. So he had to do all that. Which, thank God, I'm glad he got vaccinated.
He's excited.
Oh yeah, he's definitely restless. But we're very fortunate to have him here, and hopefully he'll come back and do what he was doing before. Okay, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hari Hari.